Think about the hardest thing you've ever had to survive. Not the bad week, not the difficult conversation, the actual hardest thing. The one where you didn't know for a moment if you were going to make it through to the other side. What did you do? Most people don't actually know. Not because it didn't happen, but because the decision wasn't conscious. The brain made the call before you did. And the research on extreme survival, plane crashes, shipwrecks, people stranded alone in places where humans were never supposed to be, keeps finding the same thing. The people who make it and the people who don't are almost never separated by physical strength. They are separated by a psychological sequence. 3 decisions made in order in the right window of time. October 13th, 1972. The Stickman is on a plane over the Andes. He does not know he is about to spend 72 days finding out which kind of person he is. 16 of the 45 real people on that flight came back. The science finally tells us why. The plane is a Fairchild FH-227. 45 passengers, a Uruguayan rugby team, their families, their friends. The Stickman is in seat 23, below the Andes. Above, thin air. The pilot believes he has cleared the range. He has not. At 3:34 p.m., the right wingtip catches a ridge at 4,200 meters. The wing tears away. The fuselage continues without it for 2 seconds. Then the tail section detaches. Then there is no more plane. There is a metal tube falling into the Andes at 300 kilometers per hour. The Stickman hits the seat in front of him, then the ceiling, then stops. Silence. He opens his eyes. The aircraft, what remains of it, rests in a snow valley at 3,600 meters altitude. Outside, minus 30 degrees Celsius. No signal, no beacon found, no road within days of walking. 12 passengers did not survive the impact. 17 are injured. The Stickman stands up. He is not injured. He will spend the next 71 days learning what that means. On the first night, the survivors wait to be rescued. This is reasonable. It is also the most psychologically dangerous thing they do. Researchers call it the normalization response, the brain's automatic attempt to convince itself that the crisis is temporary, that help is coming, that the normal rules still apply. For most people in extreme situations, the normalization response never upgrades. They wait. They grow passive. They stop making decisions. Psychologists call the result learned helplessness. The brain's shutdown when it concludes that its actions cannot affect the outcome. On the mountain, this is not a metaphor. It is cause of death. Day 8, a small transistor radio salvaged from the wreck. The survivors gather around it. A voice announces that the Uruguayan and Chilean governments have called off the search, that survival at this altitude is considered impossible, that there will be no more rescue planes. The radio goes quiet. The Stickman holds it. In disaster psychology, this is called the decision point, the moment where the normalization response either becomes permanent or breaks. John Leach, one of the world's leading survival psychologists, documented what he called the 10-80-10 rule. In any extreme situation, 10% of people respond adaptively. They think clearly. They take action. 80% become stunned, passive, and ineffective. 10% do things that actively make the situation worse. The Stickman looks at the radio. He makes the first decision. He decides to be in the 10%, not because it feels possible, because the alternative is to wait for something that is not coming. Day 10. The food from the aircraft runs out. At 3,600 meters, there are no animals, no plants, no supplies. There is only the snow and the passengers who did not survive the crash, preserved by the cold. The decision the survivors faced has become the most discussed moral question in the history of human survival. But the psychology of the moment is not what most people expect. It was not desperation, it was meaning. Nando Parado, who would eventually lead the trek that saved them all, described the choice this way. Their friends had given them everything in life. Now they were giving them life itself. To refuse was to let everyone die. To accept was to honor them. This is not rationalization. This is psychological architecture. Viktor Frankl, who survived 3 years in Nazi concentration camps and built an entire branch of psychology from that experience, called this logotherapy, the clinical finding that humans can survive anything if they have a why. He documented prisoner after prisoner who died not from the camps, but from the loss of their reason to continue, and prisoner after prisoner who survived conditions that should have killed them because they held something that made surviving worth it. Frankl called this the meaning anchor. The Andes survivors found theirs. The Stickman finds his. He does not let go of it for the next 62 days. Day 60. They have been on the mountain for 2 months. Nando Parado stands at the edge of the wreck and makes the argument. He points west. He says, "The mountains end somewhere. Civilization exists on the other side. If we walk far enough, we find both." He does not know this for certain. He presents it as if he does. This is the third decision of the survival arc, what researchers call action without certainty, the willingness to commit fully to a direction without requiring proof it leads somewhere. It is the hardest thing the human brain does, because the brain is a risk assessment machine. It demands evidence before investment. It resists moving toward an unknown. Parado and Roberto Canessa leave the crash site on day 62. No mountaineering experience, no proper equipment, no navigation instruments. They climb the highest peak visible to them. It takes 3 days. When they reach the summit, Parado looks west. He sees more mountains. He does not turn back. He descends. He keeps walking. On December 20th, 1972, day 69, a Chilean farmer named Sergio Catalan spots 2 men crossing the Rio Azufre, barely standing, barely recognizable as human. One of them wraps a note around a rock and hurls it across the river. Catalan reads it. He rides 2 days on horseback to reach authorities. On December 23rd, 16 survivors are airlifted from the Andes. The Stickman is one of them. He is not the same Stickman who sat in seat 23. Here is what 50 years of research has found. Survival is not a physical event. It is a psychological sequence. Researchers who have studied the Andes crash, the Shackleton expedition, hostage survivors, POWs, and solo ocean crossings have identified the same 3-phase process in every case. They call it the survival arc. Phase 1, the decision to stop waiting. The moment you accept that the rescue you expected is not coming, that you are the only agent in your situation, this is the most psychologically difficult transition the brain makes. It feels like surrender. It is the opposite. Most people never complete it. The ones who do tend to be the ones we talk about afterward. Phase 2, the meaning anchor. Frankl documented it in the camps. Leach documented it in shipwrecks and crashes. The Andes survivors lived it. The people who survive long extremes are not the most physically capable. They are the ones who found the clearest reason to keep going. Not a vague reason, a specific, nameable, holdable reason. Phase 3, action without certainty. The willingness to walk west without knowing what's there, to commit to a direction, to take the next step without proof that it leads anywhere. Researchers call this adaptive confidence, not the confidence that comes from knowing the outcome, but the confidence that is chosen regardless of it. 3 phases, 1 arc. The 16 survivors completed all 3. The ones lost during the 72 days, not from the crash, but from the wait, stopped somewhere in phase 1 or phase 2. Not because they were weaker, because the survival arc is genuinely one of the most demanding things a human being can execute. You are probably not going to crash in the Andes, but you have been here. Every version of this exists in ordinary life. The relationship that ended and took the version of yourself you liked best. The career that dissolved, the diagnosis, the loss. The moment where the thing you were waiting for, the call back, the second chance, the thing that was supposed to fix it, didn't come. The survival arc is not just for mountains. It runs every time the normal rules stop applying. And the psychology says the same thing across all of them. At some point, you have to stop waiting to be rescued. At some point, you have to find the thing that makes continuing worth it. At some point, you have to walk west without knowing what's there. The Stickman walked out of the Andes, not because he was stronger than the ones who didn't, because he made 3 decisions. Each one felt impossible. None of them were. You've already made impossible decisions before. You just didn't know that's what they were called.